there is representing the state of Georgia an African American and a Jewish American. In large part because of Indian Americans and Asian Americans doing the work that was done in the state of Georgia to ensure that people saw a sense of connection between themselves and the outcome of that election. It really is extraordinary.
Welcome back to Battleground. VP Harris there stressing the importance of South Asians voting and running for office. Harris is the first presidential nominee of South Asian descent. Her mother came to the U.S. from India in the late 1950s. But Republicans also have a potential tie to Indian American voters, as J.D. Vance's wife, Usha, and former presidential candidate Nikki Haley are both daughters of Indian immigrants. And in swing states like Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Michigan, a growing South Asian population continues to make up a voting bloc that both campaigns would love to court. Anumita Kaur from the Washington Post did a deep dive on Indian American voters in one community here in Pennsylvania. Anumita, so good to have you here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Okay, so first, how do Indian Americans in Pennsylvania typically vote?
In Pennsylvania and nationally, voters tend to lean blue. About 50% are identifying as Democrat, and the other 50% are split between independent and Republican.
So what are the issues? I imagine Indian American voters are a lot like all American voters. They're concerned about a lot of the same things, but what are you hearing are some of their top concerns?
Yes, so, a significant segment of the community is quite concerned about the war in Gaza. Another segment of the community is, very concerned about the ways in which the U.S. continues its relations with India, specifically the relationship with Prime Minister Modi. And then, like many Americans, there is a large segment of the community that is extremely concerned about the economy.
And as we mentioned at the top, Republicans also have some strong South Asian ties as well, including former presidential candidates Vivek Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, as well as J.D. Vance's wife. Is that helping draw some voters toward Donald Trump, do you think?
It's hard to say whether it's necessarily drawing voters towards Donald Trump, but I think that the voters that do already lean red now, can say and are saying, hey, look, the GOP does represent me.
And finally, Anumita, you've heard Donald Trump sort of come after Kamala Harris on her race and ethnicity. Do you expect she'll lean more into her heritage as the final weeks of this campaign carry on?
That's a good question. I think it's hard to say. I think that she, has not shied away from her identities. And so I think, it will be interesting to see how she continues to lean into both identities as the days go on. But I do think that it could be helpful for some voters.
Anumita Kaur with the Washington Post. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
For more on all of this, visit us at battlegroundnews.com or click on the QR code right there. You can sign up for our newsletter, download our interactive swing state map, and find our social media links. And if you miss an episode, that's okay. You can catch up on YouTube or through our podcast. Our megaphone poll question this week asks swing state voters for their top issue in this election. And here's what voters had to say in Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, and Wisconsin. No surprise, the economy and inflation topped the list by an overwhelming majority, more than 65%. Just over 15% cited the border and immigration as a top issue, just ahead of those who said reproductive rights. Crime and law and order finished far down the list at just 6%. We'll be keeping an eye on all of these issues.